Welcome back to the podcast. And if you're new, welcome. We're glad to have you. Today, we're going to talk about what happens when mom or dad has shame. In the previous podcast episode, we talked about when kids feel shame, especially ADHD and autistic kiddos. But what happens when their parents feel shame? We're going to talk about why it happens, what to do about it, how it shows up in our lives. We're going to cover it all, so make sure to stick around to the end. Welcome to the Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom podcast with Kira from Kira Brown Coaching. I'm a mom of neurospicy kids and a life coach. I'm here to share real tips and support to help you feel confident as a parent. Hello, we're going to start with a story today. It happened pretty recently to me, and it got me thinking a lot, and so I want to share it with you. We are a family that goes to church, and part of our church services is where our kids go to what we call primary, but it's like a kids' Sunday school, and they have a lesson for half of the time, and then they sing for half of the time. And we, while the adults go to an adult Sunday school, and we got done with all of our classes, and the person in charge of primary comes up to my husband and I, and she says, can we visit for a minute? I'm like, okay. Comes to find out that my autistic son has been screaming and yelling in primary and disrupting the whole thing. There has been times he's thrown chairs. There have been times where he says that he's really mad and he just wants to go because it's boring and he doesn't want to be there. And I was in shock, right? I did not realize this was going on. And in the moment I was like, yes, let's figure out something, and that's what the teacher was saying. Hey, can we do something? Can we come up with a plan to help him? Because I want him to enjoy this. We want the other kids to enjoy it and be safe. All agreeable, right? Like, yes, let's make it so my child enjoys it. Let's make it so other people's kids enjoy it. Let's figure out a solution to the problem. And I was like, okay, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. So we're driving home, and we have about an hour drive home because we live in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and I'm thinking about it. And at times I feel embarrassed and I'm horrified, and how could I be the one that has this kid in church, the one that nobody wants to deal with because they're hard and they're difficult, and I just beat myself up over it. And then I flip back and I'm angry because I haven't been notified sooner. I can't fix it if I don't know that it's happening. And I'm angry because maybe he's not being treated fairly in class. Maybe he's not getting accommodations or whatever. And there's something causing the problem. And like, people should know more about autism, right? And I'm going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until I remember something that my life coach taught me. And it is called the shame-blame cycle. Something happens and we feel shame, and we don't like to feel shame, so then we blame somebody else. And then that doesn't feel good, and we come back to shame, and then we go to blame. And so today I want to talk about the shame and what do we do with it so that we don't get in this, stay stuck in the cycle of shame and blame. First of all, I want to talk about, where does shame come from? In my life coaching certification, I learned a model and that we use to coach people all the time. And what we do is we look at people's circumstances, the facts, the things that we can prove in a court of law that happened. Okay, so we can prove my son was screaming or loud in Sunday school. Then my thoughts about it is the next step. What do I think about it? Well, when I think he shouldn't be doing that, he should be normal, he should, then I feel shame. So my thoughts create that shame. And then how I feel, the shame creates my actions. So when I'm feeling shame, I kind of withdraw. I don't want to do anything about it. I want to hide. I just want to avoid it, right? And then you get your results, which my thought was, it shouldn't be this way. And the result is I'm making sure it is this way. And so our circumstances or the facts of life, we have thoughts about those facts. And then we have our feelings are created from our thoughts, and our actions are created from our feelings, and our result are created from our actions, which ultimately tie back to what we think about the whole situation. So I want you to think about that as we talk about these places where we get shame, especially as parents of autistic and ADHD kiddos. Societal pressures. We have thoughts. Maybe we learn them from society, maybe from our families, whatever. But we have thoughts like, my child should not behave this way. My thought is, my child should not be screaming and disrupting all of the children's Sunday school, right? Or maybe I get a look from another parent or somebody and I think I'm doing it wrong. They disapprove. I have thoughts like this. I'm a bad mom. Maybe somebody else could do it better than me. These are all thoughts that come from societal pressures that we learn. Anyways, but these thoughts create our shame. We also might have shame when we compare our kids to other people. So when we think my child should be able to do what that child does, or I wish my kid could do what that child can do, that can create shame in our lives, the feeling of shame. When we blame ourselves, what's the cause of autism? That has been a big thing in the public eye lately. And ultimately, we don't know the cause of autism 100%. We have ideas. We know it's pretty genetic. But when we blame ourselves, that creates shame. We feel shame for, quote unquote, causing this autism. First of all, we don't know if we caused it. And second of all, what does it matter? They are autistic. So when we blame ourselves, or I should have known that this meltdown was coming, or I should have fed him a snack before we left the house so he wasn't hungry. I should have. When we blame ourselves, we get shame. Shame thoughts can be in the form of a question too. Did I cause this autism? That can cause shame too. So it doesn't have to be a direct statement. When we think we need to be a better parent, when we're trying to be the perfect parent, that can cause shame. I shouldn't yell so much. I should have more patience. I should be able to better co-regulate. I should know what I'm doing by now. All of these things, thinking we should be a better parent, can cause shame in our lives. And the last one I want to talk about is when we tie our worth to our children's outcomes in life. When we decide that we're a good parent when our kid behaves well, or when we decide we're a good parent when our kid can handle meltdowns on their own, or knows how to advocate for themselves, or can act neurotypical. Your worth is not tied to your children's outcomes. You are just lovable and valuable just the way you are. You don't have to earn that. I say this quite often, but I still think it's true. Like, you have a newborn baby and they are just lovable. They're just so lovable. Like, they can't do anything to take that away, and they don't do anything to earn it. They're just so cute and lovable. Well, at what age do we say, oh, you're no longer lovable unless you do XYZ? That's not the way it works. We stay lovable and valuable and worthy. So our worth is not tied to our children's outcomes. And if you want to set expectations for yourself, that's fine, but tie it to your results. What are you in control of? I can teach my child about their autism. That is something I can control. Having my child be able to self-regulate during a meltdown is not something I can control. I can teach them all day long, but if they don't choose to follow those steps, it's not going to help, right? Like, I'm not in control of that. So pick something you're in control of. So those are things that cause shame in parents of autistic and ADHD kiddos. But how does it show up in our lives? And as I was going over this list, I realized I have a lot more shame in my life than I realized. Like, I thought, oh, I do pretty good. I don't really shame myself a whole lot. Occasionally, but something big will come up, like the whole church thing. But it's not true. I have shame, and I didn't even realize it was shame. And ChatGPT helped me come up with some of these ideas, so they're not on my own. But some of the ways in everyday life that shame shows up is when we avoid social events. We don't go to play dates, or because our kid made a meltdown, or we don't go to whatever activity because something might happen. That's a way that it shows up in our lives. The second way that it can show up in our lives is we over-explain or apologize in public for our child. That one's interesting. And then I stop and think, how does that feel for my child, for me to over-explain why they are the way they are all the time? Does that make them feel loved and accepted? But I'm guilty. I'm guilty of over-explaining. How about hiding struggles from people who care about you? Do you act like everything's okay when they ask you how you're doing and you say, oh, we're good? Is it out of shame because you don't want people to know that you're really struggling? Self-criticism. I shouldn't yell so much. I should be able to handle this. I should have more patience. I shouldn't get frustrated with my child. I shouldn't get frustrated with the school. Those things are shame-based. And then, like, this whole thing started with the shame-blame cycle, where I feel shame. I don't want to feel shame, so try to get out of that. I blame somebody else, and that feels yucky. So then I shame myself again. And this is all subconscious. We don't realize we're doing it. But these are all ways that shame show up in our lives, and I'm sure there are many, many more. But let's talk about how we move through shame as a parent of an autistic or ADHD child. First of all, I want you to name it. I want you to say out loud, this is shame that I'm feeling, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling shame. It just is. It is a human emotion. We all feel it at times. Even those who don't have autistic and ADHD kiddos feel shame. We might feel a little more shame or feel it more easily as a parent of an autistic or ADHD kiddo, but let's name it. And then I want you to get inside your body. Turn your brain off and get inside your body. Where do you feel that shame? For me, I feel it in a quickened heartbeat. I feel heat across my chest and into my arms. I feel a tight chest. I feel exhausted and tired. And I find myself wanting to shut down. My body just wants to shut down when I feel shame. That's what I feel. If you are thinking sentences, you're not in your body, you're in your brain. And When you're in your brain, you can't allow your body to do what it naturally knows what to do with emotions. So just allow them and process them. So I want you to shut your brain off and just visualize where you feel that shame. You can assign it a color if it feels like it has a color. Does it move around? Does it hold still? But where do you feel shame? Remind yourself that you are not whatever it is you're having shame about. I am not my child's meltdown in church. That is not about me. I am not a bad parent. I am not disgusting. Okay, all of these things that I might think, I need to remind myself that I am not. I am worthy always. And then have self-compassion. I can see why you would feel that way, and that's okay. These emotions can come up. They can come back. I like to think of emotions as waves in the ocean. So when you first feel an emotion, it might be like during a storm and you have these big, strong waves that come in. And if you allow them to come in and wash back out like they're supposed to, they will wash back out. If you try to resist them and not feel it, I shouldn't feel like this, then I lost my train of thought, sorry. If you resist it, you intensify that emotion. But if you allow it to wash back out, you'll have that feeling for 30 to 90 seconds, and then it will wash back out. And then it might come back, but when it comes back, it'll be a little less. And then it will go back out. And then it'll be a little less, and it will go back out. And you will learn how to just have shame. And it's okay to have shame. We're not in a hurry to get rid of it. If we're in a hurry, we're not doing it right. But just allow it always. I just want to remind you, mamas, as we recap this episode, that shame is common. I think everybody feels shame in their life at some point, unless maybe you're a psychopath. But it's especially common for those of us with autistic and ADHD kiddos, and we don't talk about it a lot. We tend to hide it, which shame grows in the dark, in the hiding. So even if you tell somebody about your shame, that will help make it go away. But I just want to leave you with this thought. Everyone is trying their best. You as a parent are trying your best. Your child is trying their best. Their teachers, their church leaders, their extracurricular activities, the stranger at the grocery store that doesn't understand what's going on. Everybody's trying their best. So just remember that. Everybody is trying their best, and they're doing their best. And I will admit, sometimes our best is not very good, but we're trying our best. Feel free to reach out to me for more help if you want. You can always DM me or email me, and I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening to Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen or supported, please take a moment to like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. And if you know another parent who needs to hear this, share it with them too. We're all in this together. You're doing better than you think, Mama. You've got this.